Oh look, Outer Space Metal Time Knights. Stuff it, I'm in. Weapons of Past Destruction is the first collection of Ninth Doctor comics from the Titan line, and I feel the story comes together fairly well actually. Ninth Doctor media is very sought after, as Christopher Eccleston did a fantastic job in the role. See what I did there? For reasons I might go into in another video, however, he has not appeared in any audios or later episodes since his tenure. This leaves only books and comics to get your fill of the Ninth Doctor, and for some reason even this is hard to come by. Fanboys of the Ninth Doctor, like myself, we're really kind of struggling to find anything, so that basically puts more pressure on comics such as this to do a good job of the character, seeing as, well, they're the kind of front line of him. To give you some background on the author, this was written by Cavan Scott, who had previously written for the Doctor Who Adventures comics run. He also co-wrote a bunch of Big Finish audio plays with Mark Wright. Scott at this point was definitely not new to writing Doctor Who, so he was a safe bet for the first story featuring the Ninth Doctor in this run. Alongside Scott, the artists were Blair Shed, Rachel Stott and Anag Setuan, who after doing some research are all experienced comic book artists, which really shows reading this beautifully illustrated graphic novel. The story takes place soon after the Doctor Dances two-parter. The Doctor tries to take Rose and Jack to a planet called Excroft, but when landing they find a destroyed planet, finding only rubble and dust. After being captured by a species called the Lect and swiftly escaping, the team are led to a black market, selling weapons and items from the Time War. Another species called the Yunon, who are at war with the Lect, have one of the biggest weapons used in the Time War, and it takes the Doctor, Rose and Jack to try and figure out who the bad guys really are and which aliens to back. The plot certainly has a good premise and kept me reading till the end to find out what happens. It's very swiftly paced, as a lot of comic books are, but yet the story flows really nicely throughout the graphic novel and the whole story makes sense. Most of the time. Yeah, that magic bracelet that Rose picks up on the Lect ship really was a get-out-of-jail-free card for the writer, Cavan. All that aside, it was interesting to see what the Doctor was going to do in the situations he was in, and at a few points in the book I genuinely didn't know who to believe, the Lects or the Yunon. I also love the hark back to the Time War scenes using the 8th Doctor and the War Doctor, which you'd only ever see post-50th anniversary media. The art really does these parts of the story credit, and it's nice to see the comics referencing lore of the show without getting too bogged down in it, unlike some pieces of Doctor Who media available. It did feel kind of silly at times, like when the Doctor randomly fought a mammoth, but it kept me engaged throughout. I do kind of forgive it for this, however, as I understand the comic book demographic has a wide range when it comes to its audience members, so in this sense, this graphic novel can cater to everyone. Both 8-year-old fanboys and a sad, isolated 20-year-old Doctor Who nerd such as myself can probably find something they like about this graphic novel, which must be hard to pull off. I really like the artwork in this book. Blair Shed, Rachel Stott and Anag Setuan do a fantastic job with the art and colouring. Just look at some of these amazing images in the book. They're all obviously done with great pride and care, which really comes through, and as a reader, I really appreciate it. The likeness to characters is very good, other than Rose, who doesn't seem to be drawn amazingly, but I can see why, as Billie Piper doesn't have a massive amount of distinguishing features for the artist to latch onto, which always affects likeness when it comes to drawing. This is why Tom Baker translates really well into comics, but Peter Davison not so much. Saying that, that's only in a general sense. Sometimes they capture Billie Piper's likeness very, very well, just like in this picture here. The designs for the Yunon and the Lect were both really good and imaginative, which is great. These sorts of designs are awesome to see in Doctor Who, as you can kind of imagine aliens like the Yunon would probably never make an appearance on the TV show due to budget restrictions. All in all, I really like the style of the art, and the movement really flows from the images. The scenes are all done fantastically, and I really enjoyed reading it as a book. It flowed very well. I think it was a really good choice to pick Rose and Jack for the Ninth Doctor's TARDIS team. Some comics have had him with other original companions, but none of them flow as well as Jack and Rose do with the Doctor. What made these characters so great in the TV series was the obvious tension between them all, Rose being more relatable to the audience, and Jack being able to hold his own intellectually with the Doctor some of the time, whilst coming into every situation from a completely different perspective on how to handle himself and the situations, which is interesting to see, and is one of the reasons why I really liked Series 1 of the reboot series. This graphic novel unfortunately doesn't take advantage of this, however, leaving me wanting more in terms of character development. The banter and just the simple spark of this team just didn't seem to be there. I can't quite describe it, but unfortunately I don't think Cavan Scott captured the three of them together as well as I've seen in other Ninth Doctor media. Now, I'm not saying that this was awful, and any Ninth Doctor fan will really like this graphic novel, but it just doesn't give you any more of that chemistry you see from them in the TV series. The Ninth Doctor, I feel, was written the best of the three, and some of his lines I genuinely hear Christopher Eccleston's voice talking, which, to be fair, I can't give much more of a compliment than that. The only thing I felt was a bit off was when the Doctor starts announcing to the world that he's a Time War survivor. Now, I understand this was essential to the plot, but I'm not sure that's what Eccleston's Doctor would be doing, him being a very reserved and traumatised character, subject to the Time War being very recent in his timeline. Overall, though, him and the other characters were all well done. I especially like the bit when Rose questions the Doctor about his decision, similar to how she does in Dalek. That ties in really nicely to their character arc and shows why the Doctor loves having Rose around so much. It's because she gives him a better moral perspective and puts him in line sometimes. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this one. Just like Big Finish, Titan comics you can't really go overly wrong with, which you'll see when I do more of these reviews. The characters, on the whole, were really enjoyable to read, the story was fun and interesting, and the art really helped bring these sets of comics alive. I have to give this one an 8 out of 10. Fantastic read, and definitely worth your time if you're a Ninth Doctor fan, or just like Doctor Who comics in general. Okay, so that concludes my review of Weapons of Past Destruction by Cavan Scott. If you did like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and do let me know in the comments your thoughts of this book, because it's always interesting to get a discussion going. Anyways, that's it for today, guys, but as I said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.